Greetings and salutations, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Game Break. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of World End Economica. I feel like we're slowly but surely getting to the climax of this game. I feel like we've gotten all of the characters introduced. Some have progressed from where they were in the beginning, thankfully. But there's still a little ways to go. We are still in the midst of this financial stock betting challenge thing, pushing them along so they can pay off debts and move along in their lives. The pacing is a bit complicated to gauge, considering some days are longer than others. So it could be a couple days left to the challenge, could be many days, could be tomorrow. I don't know. But hey, let's find out. Let's dive back in and see where we go from here. The next day, Hagana and I were lined up at the table. Her terminal was set next to mine, and that program Serrault made was open. From what I'd heard, it apparently took all the factors that would move a stock, converted them into variables, and would then pick out the ones that seemed to be able to predict what will happen to the stock. Apparently, the predicted price of stocks moved according to a normal distribution. So with just that exception, it was imitating what I was doing. The difference between me and the program was that it'd instantly pick several stocks I'd perhaps be interested in out of the 1,000 stocks, calculate out the future prices, and show them to me. Stock prices were always going up and down, and that movement range was called the volatility. On the days when the market made big moves, the price would move a lot. But on most days, it'd move around the same amount. That program would determine the volatility for the day from the index, and would continuously display the predicted price. I'd look at the stocks that Hagana's program would pick out, and open up the ones that looked useful. There were a bunch of usable ones, so I thought it was imitating my selection process pretty well. Well, let's give it a try. Yeah. That is not Hagana's voice. I don't know why I did that. Hagana seemed to be a bit nervous. The prices on the imaginary stock market all started moving at once. The stock that Hagana's program picked up, apparently locked in, showed the price spreads for the day. The movement of the index, essentially the market's sentiment, was supposed to be within that range 7 out of 10 times. I was looking at other stocks too, but this one was the main one. Today, the market was a bit sluggish and wasn't really moving. Apparently, reacting to this, the program tightened the price spreads. Seemed like it'd recalculate things every few minutes. How is it? Hagana asked. I hunched my shoulders and stared at the price. It was continuing to inch its way down. The buyers just weren't coming in. My gut feeling was that it wasn't time to move. This price here was the bottom, was it? Yeah, after adjustments, this price is one standard deviation away. Fair enough. I don't really understand, but apparently that's what it was. However, the sentiment was something you'd get by looking at the movements of many stocks and shoving any info that might seem relevant in your head, all the while chasing numbers until your eyes spun and finally getting it at the end. Was this something math could encompass? I kept getting more suspicious. The reason was because before the market even opened, it showed the upper and lower bounds as if it knew what was going to happen today already. And the stocks we were looking at, the bottom was supposed to be 732 mools. It was at 738. It opened at 745, so it was down exactly 1%. Dropping 1% was like a sneeze. Your nose could just be itchy, and it had nothing to do with having a cold. But there was little information out there, so you couldn't tell. I opened screens for other stocks and found stocks where some people couldn't wait longer, or stocks that were moving strongly and tagged along. You should buy a stock when it started rising and sell it at a point where it was probably too early. If you made a profit, then don't follow what that stock does afterwards. If you lay your hands on it again, if it seemed to want to go higher, you'd most likely come out with a loss. Even the famous scientist Isaac Newton made that textbook mistake and was ruined. That was toward the end of the 1800s. I knew that Hagana was getting jealous next to me, but I couldn't waste an entire morning on that one stock. For an hour, or an hour and a half, I was adding up gains of 0.7% or 0.5%. It wasn't a great performance, but since the market was weak, it was on the good side. Along the way, I had 2.2% losses. Oh well. Suddenly, a tone sounded. The hell was that? Hell! Hagana called my name. When I looked, her finger was pointed at the terminal. Looking at it, I saw numbers in Hagana's program blinking. When I looked at the stock on mine, it had dropped to 734 mools, near the bottom limit. It's going down! I know. I was looking at the screen, and the order board didn't have any buy or sell prices that weren't shouting, "Here!" I'm supposed to buy here? To be honest, I winced. There was nothing to go on but Hagana's program. The volatility's low, but the sigma's gone down to the bottom. As usual, I had no idea. But she was serious. Trusting her, I bought. Since the lowest point was supposed to be 732, as usual, I put in the order for one step 4 at 733 mools. The stock hung a bit at 735 mools. Then there was a largish sell order and it fell down to 734, and then to 733 quickly. My order executed and the stock stopped there for a moment. However, in this situation, everyone would want to hold back, and the margin sellers would be coming to sell. Naturally, the sell orders came in all at once, soaking up my entire 733 mool order. It ate through half of the 732 mool orders. Scared, I made to cut losses. Right now, it wouldn't hurt that much. Uh-oh. Hagana apparently realized that and grabbed my hand to stop me. No! What are you doing? It should get bought here. It's supposed to get bought here. She spoke while holding my hand. Why? Based on what? It was human nature to hope that the program you made would predict correctly. But reality is merciless, and the market was known for its wild and free movements, to the point where they said it didn't care about owners. If praying was all that was needed to win, then people like Lisa would be rich. The 732 mool buyers were cleared, and it was into 731 mool territory. Already, we were down 0.4%. I was on the edge of cutting losses. The sentiment was horrible. There was no reason to buy. Under 731 was that round number wall of 730 mools. Was it going by that? From the look of things, even if it stopped falling there wasn't a reason it'd go up. But Hagana continued looking at the screen. Up! It's supposed to go up! A buy order came, and the 731 mool buy orders might win. Question mark? I don't know how to convey that verbally. It's just question mark. However, the stock didn't move up or down. Buy orders would come in intermittently, and it stopped there. Sell, buy, sell, buy. They struggled, and the atmosphere changed. Seriously, trading stopped. Go up. Hagana. Exactly when Hagana whispered. Ooh, visual. Oh, music. What? A bunch of buys up to 733 mools came in. The sellers seemed to have hiccuped, and trading stopped. Buys still kept coming in. Now up to 734 mools. Sells came. However, it was like a water gun, and turned to a stream next. 735, 736. 735, 736, 737, 738, 739. The trading was unstoppable. The trading was unstable, but I knew that a bunch of orders were waiting at 740 mools. Gains were at about 1%. If we wanted to take our profits, this was the place. I threw off Hagana's hand and put in an order. This time, Hagana didn't stop me. At the end, we executed at 739 mools and made 0.9% profit. The stock hit 740 for a moment, and then it was pushed back by strong sale orders to 738 and stayed there, struggling. While looking at the movement, I couldn't help but feel stunned. like I had just seen an optical illusion.
Did we profit?
Hagana asked. I suppose.
You suppose?
When she asked again, I corrected myself. 0.9%. Hagana didn't seem to know whether that was big or small, so she frowned a bit, but didn't seem upset. At least, she nodded in satisfaction at having profited. But I just didn't understand. What did it base its judgment on? When I looked at Hagana, she looked back at me.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Then Hagana spoke. What?
The same as chart analysis. While I was calculating different graphs, I came to realize that there were a bunch of people trading the same way.
While putting these big words together, Hagana looked directly into my eyes. In those black eyes, there was confidence.
The range of price movements are extremely limited. They're much more systematic than what comes out of a random number generator. It's proof that the road's been paved by someone.
Paved? Hagana frowned. However, after closing her eyes, she explained.
The concepts used in statistics are the same for everyone. So if everyone wanted to calculate things, then everyone would come to similar prices. It's just the difference in how you weigh the prices. When that happens, everyone would think that this price would be the bottom around here. Other people calculating would know too. That's why it'd be bought at 732. And when it's bought, everyone would know that their calculations were correct, and would confidently buy. So, it'd go up. Then, the people who don't have as much confidence, they'd buy too. Get it?
She asked if I got it, but my head was about to explode. But I think I got the general idea. So, you're saying that everyone's predicting the same thing?
Yes.
Being told that clearly, I wanted to say that was crazy. But the price moved exactly as she had predicted. You could ignore how it dropped below 730 mools for an instant. More important was how the program automatically calculated that.
But there's things I can't do.
Like? Hagana looked at me, then the screen. She looked down, maybe out of frustration.
I don't know when to sell. Even if I know the price range, I don't know when it would hold or go up. And if it goes up, where it would go.
Hagana looked up at me.
You would know that, right?
There was a pause.
From the sentiment.
Don't make fun of my sentiment.
I'm not. It's true.
Hagana snapped her eyes back to the screen. But in her profile, I just saw the tiniest hint of friendliness. Oh well, you won the first battle, but what about the next?
The list is here.
Fiddling with her terminal, the list of stocks came up again. Looking at the volume, the closing, and the price movements up until now, I picked out 3. Looking at Hagana by my side, I saw her looking at those 3 names without expression. And then she looked at me.
Go profit.
That was all from the princess. But an extremely smart princess. Your wish is my command. And, like a knight, I rode off to the battlefield. On the screen, the numbers stopped moving. It was 5 o'clock in the evening. In the end, we won so much it was silly. 19 wins to 2 losses. Those 2 were from when I traded something other than what Hagana's program said. Essentially, a perfect record. We were up 17%. Hagana was trading with me and had been too afraid to plow everything in. So we were up 1.2 million mools. If we had thrown in all the margin available for trading, we could have earned 4 million mools in total. Still, fair amount. This thing is amazing! Looking at the numbers glowing in the program on her terminal, I spoke. With trading closed, I was uploading today's trading data from the Trading Contests site. It was downloading in real time and recalculating. It almost looked like a living thing feeding. The numbers would go up and down and keep changing one after another. It took a bunch of indicators and correlated them and calculated, and whenever one price changed, all the other prices would change. And when all the prices changed, there was no end. This was what computers could do. No human could do this.
We succeeded?
Hagana asked. After that start, I learned how to use the program, and once again pulled up 10 stocks and checked their prices constantly. When the tone sounded, I traded furiously. Maybe she got sick along the way and stopped looking at the screen part way, but she didn't leave her seat. She apparently couldn't just leave the program she had devoted herself to creating. And then, that question from her. She looked so worried, I was tempted to tease her and say we didn't profit. You ass. Her eyes were normally sharp, and her actions severe, so with a face like that, it was really tempting. But I somehow managed to resist the urge when I spoke. Huge success. It was then Hagana's expression just melted.
Thank goodness.
And then that relieved smile. Thanks to how she was usually, this had a lot of power. It just blew past my limit. And while I was all blown away, I saw her wipe some tears from the corner of her eye. Stupid. Don't cry. I blurted that out in confusion, and her softened face instantly hardened.
I'm not crying.
What an obvious lie. And just after saying that, she sniffed. Well, she wouldn't admit it if I pointed it out anyway. Plus, that didn't matter. Hagana was so relieved, that it didn't matter. Next to me, Hagana was sniffing and wiping the corners of her eyes. I wished she'd think about how I felt having to pretend I didn't see that, but it was a bit cute how she tried to keep up appearances. Apparently, what Lisa said was true, about how she didn't have a personality nearly as twisted as her mean-looking eyes would indicate. Sighing to myself, I looked at the screen to pass the time.
What can be improved?
Out of nowhere, Hagana asked. What?
Places to improve.
She probably wasn't asking about how to lie about not crying. Looking at her and then at the screen, I answered. A few of the price ranges were a bit loose, and there were a lot of stocks I picked that were misses. I can pick them out when I trade, but I guess that's about it. Hagana's nose sounded a bit stuffed still, but her face had gone back to normal. She looked at her program and nodded. But, well, it's amazing. Sitting up and then leaning back on the chair, I let out an admiring sigh. Without me noticing, someone had been putting up such a fight. Hagana was looking at me quietly. Then, looking at the terminal one more time, she spoke.
I'm relieved.
I totally agreed with those heartfelt words. Hey, full house. Afterwards, Hagana was nodding off by dinner time. When she dropped a spring roll, Lisa took Hagana's chopsticks away gently. Hagana resisted childishly for an instant, but quickly her eyelids drooped and she fell asleep.
Really now?
Even though she said that, she seemed happy in a way. For now, she got Hagana to stand up somehow, then picked her up with both arms. Since Hagana was slender, Lisa was able to hold Hagana completely in her arms. Lisa wobbled a bit, but managed to carry Hagana into her room. It took quite a while, so she probably changed Hagana's clothes too. We're actually going to have to cut things off right here, right in the middle of an interesting conversation, because we are out of time. So we're going to have to find out next week just how are we going to deal with all that's going down? How are we going to move this plot forward and make all these characters play nice with each other? And since it is a visual novel, and there are certain tropes that tend to be acknowledged, are there going to be any relationships beyond just friendships? We shall see. They've certainly lined up enough possibilities, but there's not enough to go off of just yet to figure out how things may play out. But in the meantime, thank you all for joining me. I hope you're enjoying this series. As always, post in the comments below what you think of the plot so far, of the characters so far. Do you think they will get through this financial competition and win? Are they going to have to get a bit creative with how they go about paying off that debt? And anything else you feel like commenting about, by all means, start up a conversation. Let's talk about this very interesting visual novel, especially since this is only part 1 of a trilogy, to the best of my knowledge. So there's a lot more to this story beyond just what we're playing right here. So let's talk about it in the comments. And until next time, go be creative, go have some fun, go play some games, go read some books. Go be creative.